Good morning, everybody. My name is Greg Davis and I am with CBS ArcSafe. I would like to thank you for tuning into our webinar today on remote switching for the Allen Bradley Centerline 2100 series of motor control centers, and also for the bucket extractor for that type of motor control center, along with our Secure Connect. I will be covering the first couple of topics, and then I'll introduce you to Jonathan Whitney, one of our primary engineers who helped develop and put the Secure Connect system into operation that you can find from either us or from Allen Bradley. A little bit of history real quick with the bucket extractor before we get started. Back in April 2009, Finley Ledbetter, our chief scientist, was sitting in ArcSafe and he got a phone call from a major power company. And they said, "Finley, you have to make us a bucket extractor." And he says, "Why do I have to make you a bucket extractor?" And they said, "Because if you don't make us one, we'll have to shut down the entire power plant to fix one motor control center in the crusher house. You got to make us a bucket extractor." We went on a crash development program, and a month and a half later, we'd made the motor control tooling for the Westinghouse 2100 series and Cutler Hammer Unitrol series motor control centers. Today, we actually have over 20 sets of tooling for the bucket extractor because of that. If you want to talk about operational cost savings, we've had one major company, which I again can't give out their name, but in one facility it saved them $250,000 and in another one $500,000 in one instance, because they didn't have to shut down operations of the facility to change out the motor control center buckets. So this not only works to keep your people safe, but it can also provide a great cost benefit for you in terms of loss of downtime for an entire facility. So without further ado, the first thing we're going to cover here is the RSA 41B. This is on what we would call a size 5 Centerline motor control center. Now, one of the things to understand about Allen Bradley Centerline is you have a legacy version and you have a modern version. The difference is one's got a metal handle, one's got a plastic handle. Plastic handles can come in either gray or black. So that's just some of the things to understand. If you've got questions, what I would tell you to do is call us at 1-877-472-3389 or send us pictures at info@cbsarcsafe.com, and we'll help you figure out what you have in your facility. We also make a remote switch actuator or a remote switching kit for the medium voltage motor control centers. Now, we're not going to cover those today, but we make this range of products to cover the Allen Bradley Rockwell International lineup of motor starter handles, with some other ones also that we are not going to cover today. So if you have several different types of handles where you may have retrofit buckets and other things like that, then the RSA RSO system that we have here is the most economical way to go about doing this. Why? Because I can simply change the actuator to the next motor control center bucket and keep using the RSO1 AR to control those actuators. So with an RSO1 AR, I have actually over 300 actuators in the ArcSafe inventory that I can operate with that. On-off knife blade switches, RSOs for motor control centers, or RSAs rather for motor control centers. All those can be used with an RSO1. So what we're going to do now is we'll turn on our RSO. We've got the switch in the closed position, and now, only for the video purposes, am I going to stand right here to do this. Normally I would tell people to look at your arc flash hazard boundary sticker, move the RSO that far away, and then commence the operation. I will tell you, too many times people want to sit here and watch it because they've just done it by hand before. Okay, so we would really want to move outside the arc flash hazard boundary to do this. So we're in the closed position, so we're going to touch our trip button here. And we're going to trip the motor control center just like that. If we want to go back and close it again, we can go back in the opposite direction. Okay? And that's how you would use the RSO1 to do this. Now we're going to show the RSK system which is the chicken switch line that we have for the same type of operation. I'll just set these down right here. And let me grab this and I'll just bring it over here and I'll show you the whole box. Give me just a second here. Okay, so this is the RSK setup. You have the actuator, the lithium-ion battery, the charger for the lithium-ion battery, and that little handheld operator for it. So this is, we'll just set this right here for a second. We'll pull out the operator, okay? And as you can see in the picture, it'll show that your big handle here is going to go to the right side of the switch, okay? So you're going to work to put this on, and as it locates now, you can see right here that we're above and below. We'll twist on our two switchable magnets now, okay? We'll place our battery on here now. It's a Milwaukee rechargeable battery. It's the M18 red lithium CP 1.5 ion battery. At this point, we're going to tell it to wake up. Now we have to hold down the press and the off to make it actuate down. Okay, and to close it. And that's the simple operation of the RSK. If you only have the Allen Bradley handles, then the RSK system is the more cost-effective system to use. If you have several different types of handles with retrofits, then you're going to need to go the RSO RSA route. We're going to go from this one to the smaller actuator now. Let me put this back down here. We'll tell this thing to go back to sleep now, and we'll take the actuator off. The next one we're going to show right here is the ABL1 system. This is for the smaller Allen Bradley switches. And it doesn't matter whether they're horizontal or vertical. Things to point out about this, okay? The locator on this has to align with these green and red tabs on the switch itself. Okay, those are your items to make sure that when you get this on here that you have it properly located. Okay? Again, we'll come in from the right side. Get it on the locators. Turn the two switchable magnets right there. We'll install our Milwaukee battery. We'll tell the system to wake up so it can be actuated now. And that's how this is set up to operate. Again, if you have questions, please ask us at info@cbsarcsafe.com or 1-877-472-3389. We're going to move from this now over to our bucket extractor demo. So give me just a second to move our remote switching systems out of the way now. Now, something to point out in our business is this. Geometry matters to us. You have in this system of bucket control centers here what we call horizontal and vertical buckets. Okay? Horizontal for us in this instance, the handle's horizontal. It's going to be actuated horizontally like this. Vertically is this. These motor control center buckets have different things to hang on to grip onto. And so for that reason, when you say, I have Allen Bradley Centerline 2100, we will ask you, do you have both vertical types of bucket handles and horizontal types of bucket handles? Because there are two different sets of tooling that are required if you do. And you need to understand this happens with other types of motor control centers also. So whatever you got, what's behind the door, what your handle configurations are, this is important data for us to be able to help you, the end user, and keep your systems up and running as much as possible and keep your employees safe. For this one, you see that we have to have two for what we call the vertical. So there's a place to grab at the top and a place to grab at the bottom. For this one, there's only one place to grab, and that's right down here at the base of the handle. So when I place this on here, there's a locator that you can't see just because I think the camera. And so the first thing I do is I tighten down these two screws right here to hold this in place. And then I move the interlock over. Let me make sure I got my glasses on here to do this properly. Yeah, there we go. I'll move the interlock over and then I lock it down. And that releases the bucket from staying in place at this point.
Just saying camera 2.
And if you look at camera 2 right now, you'll be able to see that you can see this as it's set up now. Now, again, when we look at the RRS2, before I turn this to face the motor control center, okay, I want you to see something right now. If you look at this, we have one actuator up here and then two down here. The one up here says horizontal, and the ones down there will say vertical. So these are labeled for the appropriate type of tooling. The limit switches on this are set for the appropriate type of tooling. What you'll also see on here are our switchable magnets. These switchable magnets give us a fixed reference point to work from. Normally, you could have one above the bucket that you're working on and one below, or you can have them both above or below depending upon how close you are working to the ground. You need to have them far enough apart that you get about 18 inches separation between them, and that stops the bucket extractor from trying to move or sway as you're pushing and pulling stuff. Motor control center buckets usually move about 1.5 inches to 2 inches maximum. So that's really all we're looking at for the travel. Otherwise, you'd wind up potentially pulling one out or hitting the stops going in or going out. So these things don't move very far. It's not a very difficult operation. But just so you understand the physical dimensions of what you're doing, because up until this point, your guys simply put the gloves on, gotten in front of this thing and gone yank and push. Okay, so what I'll work to do is bring this up here and I'll get the pipe fitting connected. There we go. There we go. Normally I would be doing this from the other side, but I'm doing it offhanded and trying to make it so you can see everything, so I apologize for the slight delay here. And then I'll get the other magnet done here down at the bottom. With the bucket extractor, we use the RSO2, and it has 2 channels. We want to make sure that we have channel A connected, which is what we do. And we could either use a radio mode if we wanted to, but for our simple demonstration here today, we're going to turn this and go to local. The bucket is in the released position in terms of the interlocks are released at this time. And so now all I need to do is to press the remove A button to remove the bucket from the motor control center. And that's it. To reinstall it, I just hit the install button. And that's how simple this is made to be able to operate and remove buckets and install buckets. Again, 1-800-877-472-3389 or info@cbsarcsafe.com. Please contact us if you have questions. I'm going to unhook this and move it out of the way and turn this over to Jonathan, so just give me a second. And you'll be learning about the Secure Connect that we worked with Allen Bradley to get developed.
All right, and thank you very much, everybody, for joining us today. I just wanted to talk briefly about the Secure Connect remote operator that we worked with Allen Bradley to develop. So Greg just showed you how the bucket extractor works. And in short, the Secure Connect is actually a device that Allen Bradley developed. So as opposed to pulling a bucket on and off of the stabs physically, you're actually operating a switchblade mechanism that puts the stabs on and off the live bus. So what happens is when you bring the stabs back in, they actually have shutters that close as well. So now this bucket will be completely isolated from the live bus. So we worked very closely. A few years ago, they came to us because we're the world leader in remote racking and switching, and they wanted us to develop an operator for them to mount to their existing buckets. So everything you see here on the bucket is factory from Allen Bradley. This is the access port here for the quarter turn mechanism, and this is actually a port here for the shutters and stab switches. And these switches tell us when the shutters and stabs are disconnected and open, or sorry, disconnected and closed, or connected and open. So that is actually something we use to tell us how to operate our device. This actually operates, you can't quite see it on camera, but there's a slide latch that will mount to these stock shoulder bolts here, these little pins. So to ease installation, I'm going to push this tool back that locks back with this little switch here. And when I put it on here, you're just going to turn this here, and this is actually operating a sliding latch that you can't quite see, but it's as simple as that, and it's solidly connected. There are little feet on the bottom here that you can actually operate to just level it out so the tool engages properly. We connect this here to our pins up here. And this is the port that tells us where the pins are. And then we have another pin here that goes out to our pendant. And this is actually also powered by an internal solid-state power supply. So we're going to plug this in here and switch it on. And already you can see we have showing disconnected and closed. This is the indicator here. So green tells us it's safe. And then we also have indication here on the pendant itself. So unlatch my tool here. I've connected here. My tool is engaged. I've got the pendant here. I've got power. And if I press this button, it's operated. Now you can see that it's in the connected and the shutters are open. And again, here you can see it. So this one will actually be able to tell you when you're around the corner with this device here. So again, we worked very closely with Rockwell on this, and we're part of the Encompass Product Partner membership, and that is something that is not easily gained. This is something that you have to work directly with Allen Bradley and be an approved product for them. We did a lot of close work with them for some things that they wanted to see on this device. So it comes off this way. And it's a very light instrument here. And additionally, there's another product that we made for them that is actually a status indicator. A simple device that the electricians can have in their toolbox. So in this case, if a bucket is scheduled for maintenance and they shut it down and they need you to pull it, rather than having to trust whether or not it's actually closed or open, you can plug into the lineup and test and see that it is, in this case, connected or open. And of course, this is not something that you'd want to do in front of the bucket, but for the purposes of showing the indicator, we can run it just to see that we get our indication. And this is available with other options, such as our wireless remote that you've seen in other videos, I'm sure, from other options. And also a carrying case that's custom cut foam for all this development, all these items. Other than that, it's a very great solution for an innovation on the part of Allen Bradley. Again, they developed the Secure Connect side. We did the operator, as we have the experience on the operator side for them. It's been a successful product as they've put this more into a factory option for their buckets. We've seen some more units sold recently. And again, if you have any questions about this, obviously contact Allen Bradley for the Secure Connect side, but then our device, for sure, contact us, info@cbsarcsafe.com.
Jonathan, thank you for that. And you went through the effort of working to get this thing also UL certified, correct?
Yeah, this is a UL certified product. That was another thing that we worked close with Allen Bradley for. Sorry. And that's something that we worked closely with Allen Bradley on. They had a little bit more pull with that procedure than we do, but it's definitely a long project, and it's great to see it come to fruition. And it's something that we're having a lot of success with in the field, and people are happy with it.
Thank you, Jonathan. Ben, do we have questions now?
We'll open it up for questions now, yes.
Okay. Again, while Ben's working to look at questions coming in, you can contact us at 1-877-472-3389 or info@cbsarcsafe.com. One of the questions I think Ben had a little while ago was how many different sets of bucket extractor tooling do we have? I think the current number is just over 25. And one of the things to understand is it's hard to keep track of how much stuff Jonathan develops back in engineering because he's turning out at least one new product every week for some customer around the world. So hats off to our engineering department. I think we're over 800 products now for remote switching, remote racking, and between our RSOs, RSAs, RSKs, and all of those. If you don't have any questions, again, I would like to thank everybody today for tuning in, and feel free to contact us again by phone at 1-877-472-3389 or info@cbsarcsafe.com.